The thoughts of general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, good morning, you guys. It is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026, and today is National Whole Day for Whole Grain. That's a tongue twister right there, right, Dale?
Yeah. Whole grain like wheat, barley. Okay.
Yeah, whole day for whole grain. You know, shout out to wheat bread, I guess. You know what I'm saying? It's got like a whole bunch of those, you know, those like plastic burlap sacks, you know what I'm saying, full of different, looks like a little mercado market full of spices and stuff, but it's all different grains in the picture. Let's see. It's also
shout out to the Fertile Crescent, huh? There we go.
Yeah. It's also
all these grains.
Yeah. It's also Manatee Appreciation Day.
Oh yeah.
Can't be anywhere without appreciating a good manatee. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's what they call me on the golf course, Dale.
I thought it was you're the mulligan man.
No, Manatee. You know what I'm saying? Got those T's, and I'm the man.
Yeah, I bet you go through a dozen or so with a round.
I get it now.
You get it now. I'm glad you caught up, Chris. It's also National Little Red Wagon Day. Shout out to radio flyers everywhere. You know,
up with this shit.
Yeah, kids nowadays, you know what I'm saying? They don't get those, you know, great toys like that. You know what I mean?
Every kid's got an electric bike now.
Yeah. Oh, they're big down here in Huntington Beach. They are big down here. Today is also National Tolkien Day. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
You do? Okay, all right. He was an English writer, a poet, and a philologist, and a university professor. Best known for his classic works, The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and the Silmarillion.
Shout out to Gollum, huh?
Yeah. Also as well as Roverdom and Farmer Giles of Ham. Interesting. But I guess I think what he's most famous for is probably Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe The Hobbit before Lord of the Rings, but interesting. All right, and today
Led Zeppelin read him before they wrote some songs.
It's also National Lobster Newburg Day today, you guys. No,
I'm not a big lobster fan.
You don't like lobster, Dale? Really?
No.
Oh, bro, it's such a luxurious snack.
Yeah.
It was originally for prisoners.
Yeah.
Easy there.
Because they were scavengers on the sea bottom, so
easy there.
People didn't want to eat them.
Easy. Well, now this, you know what I'm saying? Now you can't have
eating a rat with a tail.
Now you can't have a, you know what I'm saying, a 5-star restaurant without having some type of Maine lobster dish.
That's marketing for you.
Yep. Hey, you know what? In all fairness, it is great marketing. I will give you that, because I always feel gypped when we get the lobster, because I feel like I'm paying for like 2/3 shell and 1/3 meat. Yeah, 5-pound lobsters, bro, and you get like maybe a pound of meat if you're lucky.
Yeah, you got to get the little baby lobsters, the half pounders. That's where the money's spot.
I thought they just call those things crawdads, Chris.
Depends. Crawdads are from rivers and freshwater.
Oh, that's the differentiation, is the water source.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I always wondered that. Interesting. Okay.
We used to catch them in our local creek and chase girls with them.
I bet.
Highlight of our day.
I bet. I could totally picture Dale chasing the girls
with
a crawdad.
Courtship was so different in those days.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's back when you could just share your paste, Chris.
Yeah, I'm gonna show this girl my lobster.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There you go. Chase girls. Now they chase you.
Oh man, that's funny. And it is also National Medal of Honor Day today. Mm-hmm. Yes, shout out to all of the men and women that have received the Medal of Honor, and all of their families as well. You know what I mean? That have been a part of that. I guess I got this other fun fact about this today. I did not know this, but the reason why today is Medal of Honor Day, it's the anniversary of the first Medal of Honor that was presented, and that's why it is today. So,
who got it? You
know what? I may give me 1 second, Dale. Maybe I will be able to get you that answer easy there. You can't rush perfection, Dale.
Well, you said give you a second. I'm just following your orders, man.
I'm disabled. I'm disabled,
go.
So my seconds are a little longer than everyone else's. The United States, it was created in 1861. On March 25th, 1863, the Secretary of War, Edward Stanton, presented the first medals of honor to 6 members of Andrews Raiders for their volunteering and participation during the American Civil War, a raid of April of 1862. It does not mention who those 6 recipients are. But it says since its creation, 3,468 medals of honor have been awarded to the country's soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen over the years. And it says that there is a Medal of Honor museum in Arlington, Texas, which celebrates the valor, courage, and sacrifice of Medal of Honor recipients and the 40 million Americans who have served in the United States Armed Forces. So
let's hope we don't make any more recipients here real soon.
Yeah. Yes. It's interesting, Dale. I have 2 military stories today, but nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And man. So now I just want to give this first disclaimer about this first story. I do think that there may be some propaganda involved in this story. It did come out of a UK publication, and we all know that the UK is full of leftists and America haters over there. So I do want to preface that before I go into this story. Okay, so just so we're all on the same page today with this. But they say out of the UK that U.S. troops failing drug tests on purpose to dodge Trump's wars. A shocking silent protest claim, they say. That's right. Claims that U.S. troops are failing drug tests on purpose by using marijuana in what some have called a silent protest against potential deployments in Donald Trump's military engagements have circulated widely on social media. The allegations surfaced as concerns grow over possible ground operations in Iran following recent joint U.S.-Israeli airstrikes and ongoing counter-narcotics missions in the Caribbean. Pentagon officials have issued no comment on the specific claims, which remain unverified as of the 23rd of March, 2026. The rumor gained significant traction following an Instagram post by an account, Knowledge Dome 1. which reported that some individuals linked to the armed forces may be deliberately failing tests to avoid deployment during tensions associated with the president's strategy. The Post described the idea as a silent protest and noted it has sparked debate across platforms about discipline and morale. Comparable messages have appeared on Facebook groups and threads, and where users speculate that troops are smoking weed to force administrative discharge rather than risk involvement in what they see as unnecessary conflicts. And while these accounts emphasize the absence of verified evidence or organized campaigns, the rapid spread illustrates how quickly unconformed stories can influence perceptions of military readiness. Experts note that during periods of geopolitical tension, such narratives can spread rapidly, often reflecting public sentiment or frustration rather than actual conditions on the ground. The drug test speculation emerges against a backdrop of documented increases in troops exploring legal avenues to avoid service. And the Center on Conscience and Wars has seen a 500% rise in calls and more than 1,000% increase in cases since the Iran-related strikes intensified in late February. Executive Director Mike Preisner stated that several dozens have started the CO process this month, which at least one new CO client per day. This is over 1,000% increase from the normal pace of cases, and many service members question the conflict's alignment with U.S. interest, with some disturbed by rhetoric from commanders. The GI Rights Hotline registered 212 inquiries in the first half of March alone, matching typical monthly totals in just 2 weeks, and these trends point to underlying morale challenges as the administration maintains pressure for potential escalations, including possible deployment of ground forces. The Armed Forces upholds one of the strictest drug testing frameworks anywhere, screening for cannabis metabolites with an initial emulsified cutoff of 50 nanograms per milliliter, and confirmed via mass spectrometry at just 15 nanograms per milliliter. Marijuana continues to top the list of detected substances in routine urinalysis, and a positive result can trigger non-judicial punishment, administrative separation, or even a court-martial, often resulting in the loss of benefits and a dishonorable discharge that can hamper future civilian employment. No Pentagon data released to date shows any statistically significant uptick in positives that could corroborate this protest claims, and the regulations rooted in long-standing directives reinforce the military's emphasis on readiness and safety, you guys. Wow. I definitely think this is a little bit of some propaganda, personally, coming out of the UK, trying to diminish the morale of our soldiers and whatnot, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Social media.
Smoking weed is not new.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Back during the Vietnam War, we had Operation Golden Flow.
Mm-hmm.
They had to show up and piss in a bottle, but they didn't really discharge you. My experience, if it caught you with weed, they put you on a boat as a deck ape and sent you out to sea right away.
Give you like KP duty, right? Have to peel potatoes and stuff, right?
No, you were the lowest of the low on a ship when you were a bosun's mate.
Mm-hmm.
We call them deck apes. That's where you went.
Uh-huh.
But I think there's a lot of propaganda here. The people I know that are highly specialized troops, many of them are chomping at the bit for some action.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, once a few of your buddies get shot, you start rethinking,
mm-hmm.
What you were doing here. But it's clear that the war drums are pounding,
mm-hmm.
and there are some people who just decide, I don't want to do it. Being a conscientious objector is something you should probably do before you get in.
Yeah.
But
exactly. I think that is a fair statement there, Dale. Any thoughts on this, Chris?
I was actually just telling a friend of mine about my dad's old stories. He had a buddy in college that had his draft card pulled, and he semi-purposely blew one of his toes off with a shotgun.
Really?
And that prevented him from having to go to Vietnam. And so I think smoking weed's probably a little better of a way to go about that. If it actually disqualifies you. But like Dale said, especially in light of rescheduling and all that, is weed alone gonna prevent you from getting pulled onto the front line? I highly doubt it.
I would agree to that. And I told you that I had 2 military stories today, Chris. So my next story kind of counters this, and that's why I wanted to preface that I think this one has a bunch of propaganda in it, mainly, and the fact that it came out of the UK. Just they want to try to diminish America's morale as much as they possibly can, and I'm sure that post did go out and it started trending and whatnot, and I'm sure a lot of the America haters, all these Democratic communists and whatnot, wanted to share it and I'm saying, get their algorithm going and try to make it seem like it's promoting more. But the thing about it is, a lot of these younger generations, they are very much aligned with patriotism, very much, and want to be patriots. And so I don't really buy into the notion that it's a lack of people wanting to get involved and serve this country. I'm not buying that argument, but I do agree that there is a strong movement among these leftist, commies that are definitely trying to indoctrinate our youth.
I mean, give them vape pens and send them out there, I guess.
I'm not mad at that. I mean, Dale, and to your point, I remember some of the first videos that I saw from the Vietnam War was all these guys doing shotguns with dirt weed, out of their shotguns. You know what I mean?
Out of actual shotguns.
Yeah, out of actual shotguns. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the bigger problem was China White. I mean, smoking weed was not a big problem. But China White was, because, you could get for next to nothing, damn near pure heroin over there. And you could smoke it, you could shoot it. And those guys were the ones that were targeted. They were sent to V-Spot in Germany to dry out. For people smoking weed, they just, what are you going to do? Send them home?
Exactly.
Besides, when you're out there, and what people don't understand is when you go out in the field and people are actually trying to kill you, the cortisol and adrenaline you dump for the entire time you're doing that, breaking that cycle is not a bad thing. Alcohol is a preferred substance to break the cortisol cycle. It just doesn't work well. Smoking weed so much easier, but we got to break through with the officer corps that, hey, leave them alone. You'll give them a 6-pack of beer, but they smoke a joint and they're less violent. There's something wrong with that. Yeah, stop it.
Fair enough. Well, on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
As bad as Democrats,
the backstabbing rhino Republicans,
President Trump has fought and delivered. But liberal young Kim is a Trump hater. Kim voted to censure President Trump, but voted against censoring Adam Schiff.
I don't work for President Trump. I will oppose him in the strongest terms. I'm not running for the party of Trump.
Republicans proudly stand with President Trump, but not Trump-hating liberal young Kim. Americans for Security is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Yes, and we are back, you guys, and I promised you guys another military story, so if you're ready, here we go. Because the Army raises enlistment age to 42 and eases marijuana restrictions, Dale. How about that? Look at that. Look, I told you I had a great counter story to that UK propaganda. That's right. A major update to Army recruiting regulations this week raises the maximum age a recruit can join to 42 and removes the barrier to joining for recruits with a single legal conviction for marijuana or drug paraphernalia possession. The Army's previous limit was 35, though exceptions are occasionally made. The higher age limit brings the Army in line with other services limits of 41 in the Navy and 42 in the Air Force and Space Force. That's right. Kate Kuzminski, who studies military recruiting for the Center for a New American Security, told Task and Purpose. Army recruiting officials have noted in recent years that the average age of recruits is increasing, with officials telling reporters in 2024 that the average recruit was 22 years old, 4 months, 22 years and 4 months, and that was still going up. Kuzminski said the challenge has positives and negatives, according to a report she authored for the RAND Corporation. Many older recruits scored higher in enlistment qualification tests than recruits who joined before 20 years old, and those older recruits were also more likely to re-enlist and be promoted than younger peers. However, older recruits were also less likely to graduate from basic training and had higher attrition rates. The older enlistment cap is the latest in the military's multi-billion-dollar overhaul of recruiting, launched after years of missed recruiting goals in the Army. The largest branch in the military failed to meet its annual recruiting goals in 2022 and 2023. Well, that's probably because Sleepy Joe Biden was at the wheel. Who wants to go fight for that guy? Changes in recent years to the Army's recruiting enterprise include installing a pre-boot camp prep course for recruits who do not initially meet fitness and academic standards, and creating marketing schemes to move the Army's messaging past the post-9/11 wars and appeal to Gen Z. The changes also reflect an evolving Army workforce with more education and job skills, and in 2024, then Army Secretary Christine Warmouth announced that the service's goal was to have 1/3 of the entire force to hold college degrees. That's great news. For officers, the service has expanded its direct commissioning program for professionals who have worked in the tech sector for a few years and have expertise in artificial intelligence and space, in order to help bolster the Army's technical knowledge across its formations. Colonel Angela Chipman, Chief Military Personnel Accessions and Retention Division, said the enlistment age increases reflects the need for technical talent, even in the enlisted force. In a quote, "We're kind of looking at a more mature audience that might have experience in technical fields. We need warrant officers with extreme technical capabilities, and those will come from the enlisted ranks." The Army also changed a specification in its waiver process for drug offenses. According to the regulation, recruits no longer need a waiver for a single conviction or possession of marijuana or possession of drug paraphernalia like bongs, roach clips, miniature spoons. Miniature spoons, what do you use for? To me, that's like heroin. I'm not too sure about that being for weed. I haven't never heard of that. And various pipes. But under previous regulation, a recruit with one conviction for possession of marijuana or drug paraphernalia required a waiver from officials in the Pentagon. And recruits also previously had to wait 24 months to enlist and would have to pass a drug test at a military entrance processing stations facility before the waiver could be approved. Kuzminski said the waiver modifications accounts for changes in society, and she noted that the change is for a single offense, but that recruits with a pattern of convictions or behavior would still need a waiver. In a quote, "The updated regulation allows for one mistake, which likely represents the bulk of potential recruits who previously needed a waiver for marijuana use considering use in the Army," Kaminsky said. "Reducing the number of characteristics that needed to be reviewed for waivers frees up capacity for other candidates who need waivers, thus speeding up the process across the board and helping to ensure that the Army does not lose interested candidates." The looser approach to marijuana use comes as the broader military tightens its drug policies for troops currently serving, and in recent years, the military adopted psychedelic mushrooms and products with kratom and related substances to its list of banned substances. And earlier this week, the Army said it will begin flagging all soldiers with positive drug tests, not just those with security clearances, to the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency. And both Republican and Democratic in Congress have signaled a more lenient approach to recruits' marijuana use, which is legal for adult use in almost half of the U.S. and legal for medical in a majority of the states. And in a quote, they say, It's just us looking at, as the states continue to legalize marijuana versus those that don't, and the federal government not yet legalizing. At what point are we hindering ourselves by holding people to this type of conviction that in some states it's okay, in some states it isn't? The regulation, which governs the enlistment process for active duty and reserve components, also codifies a change made in January, which put Army Recruiting Command in charge of waivers for recruits with mental health and misconduct histories, and now 2 or 3-star commanders who are in charge of street-level recruiters rather than the Army Secretary level will approve or deny major misconduct waivers for an offense. Chipman said waivers were being approved at a 95% rate, so the higher approval authority created an unnecessary administrative burden, and the standards when it comes to felonious behavior, that has not changed. She said, we're not going to lower that. Wow, look at this. Great news for our Army. And they have increased the age and lowered the threshold for getting in. So now I have one question for you, Dale. One big question. Because I remember a point in time in history when if you get caught with certain X, Y, or Z, instead of doing jail time, you could sign up for our military. And I think that they should re-engage in that policy. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Well, this reflects just the basic reality of recruiting people to come in the military. A lot of the generation that's out there right now that has the expertise with their IT knowledge, they're raised with IT, so they're more intuitive about it. Because what we're about to see, if people decide they want to go into the Middle East with troops, is that what the Ukrainians found out is some pimple-faced kid in his mom's basement can fly a kamikaze drone and kill as many as he wants, and no one touches him. And my concern is we aren't really paying enough attention to that. So more with IT knowledge, I think, is good. But it just reflects the reality. You can't get people to go sign up for war. That's why they have the draft. People go, I'll pass. So, all right, now you're going to get drafted. Now this is a voluntary military. And, the idea that I'm going to be some big badass jumping out of a plane with a parachute is great until you and your buddies get blown up by some kamikaze drone coming at you. And this may change the entire dynamics of warfare as we understand it.
Very, very possible. Any thoughts on this, Chris?
I think that's what all this ICE stuff and everything has been in general for, is to put pressure on people to, we had all these migrants come in through Biden. Now we have a war. We have military-age people walking around the streets in our cities that we're having to spend money to house. So I think we're gonna dangle a carrot to get them to go fight for us as well. So I don't have a lot of faith in the barista generation right now to really do the fighting for us, unfortunately. Testosterone's a little bit low these days.
Well, historically, we've tried to keep out people who demonstrate violence within our group. The warfare is proactive violence. Okay, we're all for that. It's the reactive violence within our groups and our tribes that we tried to keep out. And I knew plenty of guys during the Vietnam War who got themselves in some trouble doing stupid shit. And the judge said, hey, you can go to jail or you can go join the Navy or whatever. And a bunch of them did. But they weren't engaged in violence, okay? They tried to keep those out of the service. There's enough violence creation in the service, what they do. But if you're already violent, then it becomes more difficult to control. And it's sort of a long-standing battle we've had with the male of our species, is how do we, corral the ones that are excessively violent, because we just don't want them in our tribe anymore. Historically, they used to take them out and throw them off a cliff. You're just too violent for all of us. The women don't trust you. The guys can't trust you. Whack him. Get rid of him.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this, Jenny?
No.
No? Interesting. Well, sweet. I'm amped up about our military personally. You know what I'm saying? I think they're doing a phenomenal job with everything. And shout out to all of our men and women that serve our country. And you know, we have the utmost respect for you because freedom ain't free. And thank you all for all that you do. And I think this is great that they're lowering this threshold. You know what I mean? I think this is great. I think it's like I don't have nothing but great things and praise to say about this and this story, as opposed to the first story, which I think was a bunch of propaganda. Propaganda at that. But nonetheless, we're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. And Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He is blunt. He doesn't smoke them, though, because they're ratchet, they're nasty, and they turn your teeth yellow and other things yellow. But he is unconcerned with public opinions, your opinion, and he wants to identify as anything else's opinion. And he will show you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right, it is your favorite T.O. Loco, and you can find him at his own law office at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Hi, good morning, everybody. For those of you on the East Coast, early afternoon, T.O. Loco, Jason's favorite Politicus. Let's take a look at an article that I ran across yesterday out of Marijuana Moment. The headline, and it's by Tom Angle. The headline is Alcohol Industry Group Launches Push to Regulate Hemp THC Drinks Instead of Banning Them. Now, this is one of those, aha moments that I think the alcohol industry is reading the tea leaves, because out here in California, if you haven't seen this, wineries are closing down regularly because the demand for alcohol is dropping, while the demand for cannabis is increasing. And what this group or this article is focusing more on are intoxicating hemp products and focusing specifically on THC beverages. I think most of them are limited to like 10 milligrams per drink. But what this represents is a direct conflict for raising, for earning money in alcohol business, because the intoxicating hemp beverage market has grown significantly. It's taken a pretty good bite out of the alcohol industry. But what they're recognizing here is rather than prohibit it, let's try to regulate it. And that's another step towards recognition that bans on cannabis, whether you call them hemp or you call them cannabis, it doesn't matter. The intoxicating ones, which typically revolve around THC, are the average person in this country understands they're safer than tobacco and alcohol. Studies consistently show that. And what people are doing through their pocketbooks is letting people know that, those that are paying attention, that we want these products. And if you try to take them away from us, what this industry alcohol group recognize, they're going to go to the black market. Really? Like we haven't been telling you that all along? And this is one of the problems that we've been facing for a long time, that they're still inside the beltways, the policymakers, some of those prohibitionists. But when outside groups like the alcohol industry come in and say, hey, stop this. Okay, they understand that they're going to be able to be a part of this at some level. And what they're also arguing for is let's follow more of an alcohol model. Now, I've been screaming this for a long time. Okay? At the federal level, when alcohol prohibition ended in like 1934, they set up a excise tax at the federal level and basically got out of the way. Okay, let the states go out and do this, and a similar model can be implemented. And I understand that the Trump administration has directed that a committee get formed for deregulating cannabis, which I would argue is a better approach. But some of the figures that come out of this, I think, are enlightening for policymakers. Is that right now the alcohol industry represents $363 billion in economic impact, and the potential for intoxicating hemp products is $28.4 billion. Certainly not as big as alcohol, but the beer market is $6.87 billion. So the potential for intoxicant hemps is like 4 times the beer market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that you have to pay attention to that. If you're in a boardroom and you own stock or you're controlling an alcohol business, you're looking at this. I mean, go read Sun Tzu. If you want to, you got to know yourself and your adversary to prevail. Well, if you know your adversary, okay, and it's the intoxicant hemp market, at some point it's better to, to partner up with them, or at least to support them becoming less illegal. Okay? And until the 1913 Amendment for Income Tax, alcohol excise taxes represented like 30 to 40% of the entire federal budget. Okay? It was a great income maker, and the potential for hemp and cannabis products to replicate that is pretty high. Okay, so I think what the alcohol industry is figuring out is like, fighting this is stupid, and anybody in the industry that doesn't understand that the laws that were passed, the 18th Amendment that prohibited alcohol, was a malum prohibitum law that was never enforced. It could never be effectively enforced because the voters out there, they just weren't going to pay attention to it. This was brought forward by a group of prohibitionists, and ultimately it fell flat on its face. So the alcohol industry understands very well that they had like a 13 or 14-year run where this was disastrous. The mafia was the big winner. Like today, the black market is the big winner in cannabis. Okay, you can talk all you want, but the numbers are just way too high. 50, 60, 70% of the market is still in the black market. If you don't pay attention to that, you're just not doing your shareholders justice. So what I see coming now is inside the beltways, the alcohol industry is lobbying Congress right now. And I would hope that they're not lobbying to do Schedule 3, because that's really not going to help them a lot, because it still doesn't fix the intoxicant hemp market problem. They're also lobbying to get an extension of a year. They want to kick out another year the intoxicating hemp ban, so they have time to realistically talk about this, bring in people who have expertise, and see if we can move this. I'd like to see it moved out of the Controlled Substances Act, if we can. But now that there's recognition on such a large industry, I think we're going to see inside the beltways here in Washington that they're going to be looking at this much differently. And if we get that extension through Congress, then I would hope they'll look at, moving this like alcohol to its own. ATF could handle it nicely, and let synthetic THC and even natural ones be added to some medicines and control it that way. But let's get out of the way here and let this become an industry where the potential is pretty high. I'm going to throw this back at you guys for your comments, but I don't see that they're going to be able to enforce these. They can't enforce them now, and the recognition that they're not enforceable, I think, is a very helpful argument to move this thing to a new place.
I agree with you, Dale. I don't understand how they're going to be able to enforce it. I'm glad that people want to try to get in and like, hey, we need more regulation, but like we're already an over-regulated industry. I don't think we need more regulation. I think we need, less regulation overall. And, then maybe a couple little better guardrails. But a lot of the propaganda that they put out there that's saying that, hey, this is bad and this is happening, I don't think is there's a lot of other things that are happening at much larger scales within legalized industries as opposed to within this. It's not the boogeyman that they want to make it to be.
Well, as you know, California is highly overregulated. And we've talked about this before. If you go to a supermarket and grab things from the produce aisle and some other manufactured products and go test them like they do cannabis, you find out they all fail. Okay, because it's not about what's in cannabis. Really, people from the hemp market really don't give two shits about what's in it. They want to get high.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lesson to learn that I don't know that they're really paying attention to, or maybe we should bang that drum a little bit more. Stop regulating so much. And the over-regulation is really just tying the hands of people trying to be in the legal industry. And the black market's just laughing their ass off to where they bury their money.
Yeah.
How do we get people to, honestly, through critical thinking, take a look at this? Because it's let's call it a vice, if you want to call it a vice industry, like alcohol and tobacco. And they figured out how to do that. And, educational endeavors have gotten the use of tobacco down. Mm-hmm. Alcohol is out there competing with cannabis, even though cannabis isn't even totally legal yet. This is a marketplace that is not hard to understand, but why we keep fighting and butting heads against the wall with people who want to regulate the shit out of this when it kills nobody. The roads aren't blood red from people driving high. They've been doing that for years, and it hasn't changed. And I think the general public is recognizing this. And with an industry like alcohol saying the same thing we're saying, I think that the trend is going to be, in a direction we want it to go from the industry standpoint.
Any thoughts on this, Chris? Jenny?
I mean, I'm a beverage hater. I don't think THC should be drank. I've been saying that this is all just a conspiracy for the alcohol companies to stay relevant while they've been losing a market share. And so, of course, they're pushing for it because they're probably going to end up owning 80% of the beverage space within cannabis themselves. So that's my biased opinion. I think most people want flower. Most people want to be able to smoke weed in bars, in social settings where people are allowed to drink, not have it segregated to some separate socializing cannabis lounge.
Or even just on the patio.
Yeah, we all just want to hang out.
Yeah.
Some of us want to drink, some of us want to smoke, some of us both. These emulsifiers that they have to add to these beverages, I think, are gross and haven't been studied enough, and people are consuming huge amounts of it. Most of the THC drinks have tons of sugar, sodium benzoate, red 40, all this crap in it. So that's my base argument. Like I said, the fact that the alcohol industry wants to regulate it and not ban it doesn't surprise me, because they essentially want to own it, co-opt it for themselves.
And especially with all the progress that they made with being able to have beverages in like Target, Circle K, Total Wine and Spirits, like they're already working on on boxing in their shelf space for these products. So I
would hope that the libertarian streak in the American public would, tell the government, look, what I do in the privacy of my house or consensual adults around me, why is it your business? Get your, all you Karens out there making all these goddamn regulations, get out of our life. We're not hurting people, okay? And the sky's falling argument is falling on deaf ears. Okay? And, I recognized a long time ago that the industry that's probably going to be the motivator to take over this is going to be alcohol. Pharmaceuticals it's too messy for them. It falls right in line with alcohol. Yep. Alcohol is not the boogeyman that tobacco is. And I think the average American's looking at this going, why are you in my business? Okay. And that may be the Scots-Irish in me, but I got a huge libertarian streak. Like if I'm at my house smoking a joint, hitting the bottle of scotch, and I ain't going nowhere, why in the hell are you in my business? Get out of here.
Yep. Fair enough. Jenny Beth, I imagine you don't have anything you want to say about this, do you?
The lawn people are outside. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep racket down.
Okay, fair enough. Since the gardeners are outside, the gardeners, they're actually called not just lawn people. That's cute, the little hobbits, you know what I'm saying, whatnot. But on that, we're
little hobbit. Those are the people that cut the grass.
Yeah, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Rescheduling cannabis, which was classified as more dangerous than fentanyl. Trump's action will destroy the cartel's illicit black market, expand medical research, and ensure seniors and veterans safely receive the care they need. Thank President Trump for delivering on another America First promise.
Yeah, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And make sure that you're also following us on X and Rumble, as those are the two most stable platforms on the metaverse.
Under President Trump, America is back. Trump's delivered the largest tax cut in history, putting more money in our pockets and restored America's economic dominance. Promises made, promises kept. Now it's time to fulfill another promise from President Trump and reschedule cannabis, which supports over 400,000 jobs and creates billions of dollars in economic growth. Reschedule cannabis and stack another win, Mr. President. America First Agriculture Action Inc. is responsible for the contents of this advertising.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and we are back, and we are going to roll right in. Oh, there we go. Oh, you know what? Oh, my goodness. I'm so apologize. Oh, my goodness. I can't believe I didn't do that. We're going to roll right into Mr. Christopher Vaos. Christopher Vaos is a seasoned cannabis industry professional with over 15 years of experience in commercial cultivation. He has led large-scale indoor greenhouse and outdoor operations across various U.S. markets, specializing in cultivation optimization, team leadership, and cost-efficient scaling. With a background in engineering and a data-driven, science-based approach, Christopher is consistently delivering strong results in plant health, productivity, and operational efficiency on top of test results from his favorite lab. It is none other than Mr. Christopher Vaos.
It's all about that testing lab payola here.
Yeah, so. Bro. Exactly.
44% THC, baby.
That's right.
So this article is coming from MJ Biz Daily about the friendly state of Alabama. Alabama's beleaguered Medical Cannabis Commission failed to follow state procedure and open meeting laws, overpaid an outside law firm by $204,000, and didn't maintain records properly, a recent state audit found. The audit comes at an awkward time, just weeks before the long-awaited launch of Alabama's medical cannabis market. Lawsuits filed by applicants who were denied licenses delayed the launch. Some of the allegations in the lawsuit are supported by the audit, according to Alabama Political Reporter. Alabama has suffered possibly the most torturous launch to medical cannabis seen in the country after Republican Governor Kay Ivey signed MMJ into law in 2021. In the years since, multiple licensing rounds were revoked, canceled, amid accusations of bias and impropriety, forcing regulators to renege on a promise to launch sales in 2024. Lawsuits alleging impropriety and bias at the state of Medical Cannabis Commission have been central to the chaos. They wrote that sentence weird. Mm-hmm. According to the Alabama Department of Examiners of Public Accounts audit released on Friday, the MCC failed to comply with state open meeting laws, overpaid a $400,000 contract with an outside law firm by $204,000. Speaking of payola, someone's cousin got hooked up there.
Yeah, they did.
Did not adopt a fee structure in compliance with state administrative law, did not meet legal standards for maintaining records. The findings come as the state continues to drag its feet on awarding 5 coveted vertical integrated permits. The Alabama Daily News reported the vertically integrated permits could be issued as soon as this summer. The MCC's failure to follow the proper procedure is what canceled out prior licensing rounds. State allows for a maximum of 5 vertically integrated businesses, with each permit holder allowed to operate up to 5 retail locations, 12 licensed medical marijuana cultivators, 4 processors, 4 dispensary-only permits, each of which can operate up to 3 locations. You know, these I was just in Kentucky this weekend, and I got to visit the biggest grow there. And it's kind of a big deal to be a big fish in a small pond. And I think you're actually can do much better as an operator in a smaller state like that than you can being a medium-sized or even a large operator in a state like New York or California, where you have a ton of competition. So it doesn't surprise me that this is a good old boys club, and people are doing whatever they can to nab and hold on to one of these licenses, because it, at least initially, will be a license to print money. Kind of interested to hear what Dale has to say, but you know, having worked in multiple states like this, it's you know, it's never really fair. And whoever does get these licenses, I mean, 12 cultivators, you maybe are going to have 2 or 3 that are actually operating in the first 18 months of the market, and they're going to just dominate. And I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens here.
Well, what I don't see is any of these people violating these laws getting in trouble. And that's part of the problem I've seen with the Good Old Boy Club, is that they do what they want to do and they can drag their feet and nothing really happens to them. Because I've been part of many of these lotteries where you're trying to get a small number of licenses, and it's a disaster. I mean, you're right, Chris, you can make a lot of money when you get one. Okay? But to get in that position, what do you have to do? And, you know, this just points out, when you pull the curtains back, there's shenanigans going on behind the curtain. And I don't think it's going to stop until the party in charge decides that they're going to take a look at their own people and do something about it. Because this continues. I mean, you know, when a law firm's overpaid like that, someone's, you know, winking and nodding, and, you know, it's like, oh, okay, just pay the bill, just pay the bill. Now, hang on for a second. You know, can we take a look at the corruption going on here? Because that's the source of a lot of this corruption. Because if you get an extra $200,000, how much does it cost you to get that? That's where my experience is. And people who are politically connected, some of them are bold enough to just tell you, hey, you know, pay me this much money, I'll get you what you want. A lot of others, you know, are a little more subtle about it. Hey, you got to hire my brother's consultant business, and you know, we'll work. That's the kind of stuff that just, I mean, I've been in some of those meetings, and it just makes my blood boil. It's like, you want to play by the rules here, and this is what you got to deal with. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I think every state has these, and it's part of the political nonsense. Red and blue states both have them. They don't want to look at their own party when this stuff is going on, because it's their friends and their buddies. And, you know, this is another example. And why it takes 5 years to get this up, I mean, I think they understand that if we go do these things, have these, you know, we have 3 of us get together when only 2 can get together in the open meeting laws and things like that, and we have backroom meetings, and we decide to do something, and nothing happens to them. This, you know, they'll drag this on some more. It's very frustrating for those of us who are trying to be accountable for what we do, but the government doesn't like to be accountable for what it does. And I mean, I would like to see these businesses get up and run and be well run and managed, but I suspect if they don't overregulate you, they behind closed doors, you know, bend you over and violate you with a cactus.
Yeah, that's right. Fair enough. Any thoughts on this, Jenny Beth? Alabama.
I'm not surprised.
Not surprised. Me neither. I'm
disappointed, not surprised.
Disappointed, not surprised. And it's probably gonna, the cultivators probably aren't going to be that good, I imagine. Maybe you get one that's good, but
well, you can find strains that do well in southern climates. I mean,
that's not my point. That's not my point, Dale. It's not about whether or not they can find a strain that'll do well. It's whether or not it's someone that actually understands the plant and like cares about the plant, as far as someone that just wants to overproduce and, you know, worry about yield numbers as opposed to like actual quality levels. That's what I'm trying to say.
Boy. Anyway,
well, that's the difference between, you know, vodka and, you know, 20-year-old scotch.
Yeah, it's the difference between
what
you know,
people are going to need right away is vodka, because a 20-year-old scotch takes a while to develop. But, you know, the problem, until we can do interstate commerce, the really high quality stuff that we're used to, the top shelf shit that we got in California, is going to be available in the black market and not on the shelves of legitimate businesses where it should be.
Very true. Very true. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
As bad as Democrats,
The backstabbing rhino Republicans.
President Trump has fought and delivered, but liberal young Kim is a Trump hater. Kim voted to censure President Trump, but voted against censoring Adam Schiff.
I don't work for President Trump. I will oppose him in the strongest terms. I'm not running for the party of Trump.
Republicans proudly stand with President Trump, but not Trump-hating liberal young Kim. Americans for Security is responsible for the content of this advertising.
We are back, you guys, and we are going to roll right into America's sweetheart, Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their life back on track after they've been victims of the track. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
All right. right, and we are back for another episode of Don't F Around in Asia, you guys.
Yeah.
This one is a very fun, serious story, but I thought it was funny, and, thank God I have a funny story because I'm tired this morning. So, a restaurant owner in Phuket, Thailand, is speaking out after a foreign couple was caught breaking into her property, using the pool, and smoking cannabis without permission. The incident happened in the Rawai area, where the owner of a local restaurant shared a video showing staff confronting the couple. According to reports, the pair had entered the property multiple times, even bringing a mat and treating the space like their own. In the footage, an employee tells the couple they are trespassing and warns police will be called. The man reportedly responded casually, telling staff to relax before the couple eventually apologized and left. The owner says this wasn't an isolated incident. CCTV footage allegedly shows the couple returning more than once, swimming in the pool, and using cannabis on site without permission. Local reports also claim the pair may be staying nearby and have caused disturbances in the area, including arguments and erratic behavior. Doesn't sound like they'd be erratic at all. Police have since been notified, but as of now, no arrests have been made. And we don't know if this is Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake, but it sounds like it could have been. This is embarrassing, guys. Please stop embarrassing yourselves when you travel. And you're very lucky that the police didn't get called, because I don't think Thailand would have taken this quite so lightly.
Lucky they didn't get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
And that's what tends to happen. You know, it's like, we'll call the cops to come take you to the hospital after we kicked it out of you for doing this stuff. I don't know why people think they have a right to do this. They don't accept the rights of other people, their property rights, their rights to privacy and things like that. And in this country, we've kind of getting used to just, walking away from them. And perhaps some of them need to have the dog shit slapped out of them a couple of times, and then no prosecution because you deserved it. And maybe it'll fix some of these idiots.
Jenny, did it say their actual country of origin? These individuals? I wonder if they were like UK citizens, US citizens, or...
They're probably US citizens. Sounds like something we would do.
Yeah, I know, but they could have been...
It sounds like something we would do.
They could have been some Australians.
It could have been, but there's a reason why countries aren't always stoked to see us coming. But hey, they're lucky they didn't call the ladyboys on them.
Speak for yourself. Everyone's always excited when they see I'm hopping off a plane.
You don't hop.
Visions of grandeur.
It's true. It's true. They usually, when I walk through customs, it's bells and whistles. They're all happy, like, oh, welcome, thank you so much for coming to visit us. Gracing us with your presence. Yeah, 100%.
They're like, ew.
Yeah. Governmental welcome committee. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Okay. Just to keep this show honest, I want everybody to realize that Jason is lying.
No way.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Through his teeth.
No way.
He doesn't hop off anything, right, Jenny Beth?
He doesn't.
Easy there. Well, Jenny, I have one final story from your home state, Jenny Beth.
Great.
Are you excited?
Yeah, but I gotta go.
Well, Georgia legislature approves medical marijuana vaping and removing THC limits, you guys. That's right. In the 11 years since Georgia's medical marijuana program started, it has slowly stumbled forward with patients restricted to low-potency oils. The Georgia General Assembly gave final approval to a bill on Monday that would change that. The House voted 144 to 21 to lift Georgia's limit on THC content in medical marijuana and to allow registered patients to vape the drug to receive faster relief. Senate Bill 220 now advances to Governor Brian Kemp. In a quote, "These are badly needed improvements," said Shannon Cloud, whose 20-year-old daughter suffers from seizures and is a registered Georgia medical marijuana patient. "It allows more flexibility for patients and doctors to access what's really going to work for them, taking away the really tight restrictions." Of these 42 states with medical marijuana programs, Georgia has the lowest adoption rate, said Gary Long, CEO of Botanical Sciences, which owns 5 dispensaries across the state. There are about 34,500 registered patients and 2,200 registered caregivers in Georgia, according to the State Department of Health. And patients will get quicker relief from vaping rather than ingesting oil tinctures, Long said. "If you're a patient who has chronic, intractable pain, you don't want to wait 45 minutes for those other forms to take effect." This is a medical product. This is not a recreational product, and this gives the majority of patients a form of the product that provides the quickest relief possible. Currently, Georgia's medical marijuana law allows patients to buy and consume products with up to 5% THC, the compound that gives marijuana users a high. Adult use cannabis, which is illegal in Georgia, can have THC content of more than 20%, they say. But under SB 220, there would be no THC percentage cap, and the name of Georgia's medical product would be changed from low THC oil to medical cannabis. Senator Ed Setzer, Republican from Ackworth, said he has grave concerns about raising the THC limit and allowing people to get high. This is not low THC oil to solve the problems of little girls that have serious medical conditions that modern medical science cannot otherwise solve. This is something different, Seltzer said before the 38-14 Senate vote to pass the bill last week. It's about getting people high on THC with concentrated THC into their lungs. That's a very different proposition, he says. Senator Matt Brass, a Republican from Newman, said the bill will support legitimate patients and prevent a slide towards adult use cannabis legalization that occurred in other states. This state does it different. We have put it in medical hands. We have a tight lock around those qualifying conditions, and we are taking advice from medical experts, said Brass said. To qualify for a medical cannabis in Georgia, patients need approval from a physician to treat conditions including seizure disorders, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, post-traumatic stress disorder, and intractable pain. SB 220 would add lupus to the list and limit treating physicians to those whose principal practice of medicine is located in Georgia. Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy, a group that warns against the risks of marijuana expansion, said increased availability and potency of THC can lead to addiction, impair youth brain development and driving skills, and undermine worker productivity. When cannabis use disorder takes root, it does not create freedom. It takes away the ability to choose, wrote the group's executive director, Michael Mumper, in a statement at the beginning of this year's legislative session. Kemp could sign the bill and allow it to become law without his signature, or he can veto it as well. Well. Hopefully, he will sign this bill, or at least do nothing on it and allow it to be adopted. And the only way that this bill cannot go into effect is if he chooses to veto it. What do y'all have to say about this?
Well, it's pervasive now in the medical community that getting high is an untoward side effect of certain medications. Mm-hmm. And I would argue it's an integral part of certain medications. And that, I mean, listen to this person talking. I bet they would have voted for the Marijuana Tax Act back in 1937 because they bought the bullshit. I know a lot of medical experts in this. Mm-hmm. You know, I was married to one for a long time. I know some of the oldest, living experts in cannabis, and they'll tell you that these limits are artificial, that if you take even 5% weed and you put it into a vape, these vaping devices, mm-hmm. you still get the same THC levels, and you titrate until your brain tells you, I've reached enough.
Yep.
So why do you make it so difficult for people to do that? And they really don't seem to understand that for kids with seizure disorder or people with seizure disorders,
the stronger
having
the better.
A rescue from a vape pen plus giving you consistent doses throughout the day is how you limit seizure disorders. That's just one of many disorders that physicians like to have a long-term plan and breakthrough plan. Like with asthma, you take a long-term asthma medication. If you get asthma, you hit the the vasodilator right away. Mm-hmm. And this is not a very difficult concept for people to understand. But then you bring a knuckle-dragging Neanderthal in like this, whoever this person is, talking about, it's going to get you high. He really is just mouthing emotional truths that at some point either adopted or is just basically lying about because he's got some position he's trying to push. There aren't any medical experts I'm aware of in treating these diseases that will support what this guy's saying. I just don't know. You might be able to find Kevin Sabet, might know a few of them.
I was going to say this. I feel like this guy is funded by Kevin Sabet. Like this is like a Georgia offshoot of Project Sam.
Oh, I would agree. He either believes this nonsense or he's mouthing this because he's got some secondary gain coming to him somewhere. And that's difficult for me to swallow, because these are baby steps. I mean, realistically, for those of us who follow the industry for a long time, starting with just a little bit and giving you a little bit more and say, oh, we've got some victory here. That's like, I don't know who you're fooling, because, I know many parents trying to deal with a kid with a serious disorder like a seizure disorder, and they're scrambling to get enough oral to stop this on a daily basis and then have breakthrough. And these are discussions I've had with lots of people in and around the cannabis industry, physicians, and those that just treat these conditions. That's how they're trained. If we can give you something long-term to keep it from happening and something for breakthrough, cool. Then we are addressing the problem. And this guy just doesn't seem to understand the basics of this. And we're going to have to deal with them for a while, because they're not going away. I think they're still being manufactured, or they're still willing to go up there and say this nonsense publicly, or whoever or whatever, because it's simply not true.
Any final words on this, Chris? I think you're on mute. You're on mute, Chris. You're on mute. It's down at the bottom. Yep. There we go. Looks like he's got it. There we go. Yeah.
I have friends in Georgia. It looks like we're talking about Georgia, Alabama. It's legalization is finally circling back to the South. Georgia's had this program for a long time. It's basically useless.
Yeah, right.
If you don't allow flower, if you don't allow real production, all these limited licenses, you just have tinctures and oils. It doesn't really do anybody good. And if someone really badly needs something for their children, they're going to get it anyway. They'll get it from another state. They'll get it ordered online. So I guess it's good progress for Georgia that they're moving along. They're increasing these limits. They're doing what they can, but it's probably going to be a long way before we see a real program in that state.
I would agree. It's probably going to be a while until we see a real program in the state. But like I said, hopefully the governor either signs this into law or doesn't do anything with it. The only negative thing he can do is veto it. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But and then this will ultimately become law. And I'm sure we'll probably cover it when it actually happens. But on that, I guess, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this today, every day. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.